Indian companies are becoming steadily more well-known globally, but according to some, there is more they could be doing to improve their marketing and branding strategies. Jessie Paul, the CEO of Paul Writer, a strategic marketing advisory firm, and no stranger to taking Indian brands global, joins me now from the INSEAD India Business Dialogue in Mumbai. Jessie, thanks for joining us on INSEAD Knowledge.
Thank you for this opportunity.
Jessie, before starting Paul Writer, you spent some time at some of India's biggest brands. You were the global brand manager at Infosys, and then you were the CMO at Y Pro. What were some of the key lessons you took away from working at both of these companies?
I think one of the important factors for any Indian brand is that you somehow have to control the variables, and there is a lot of chaos, there's a lot of ambiguity that we deal with in terms of power, infrastructure, work ethos, everything. But when you're going global, you have to figure out a way to make that opaque to your customer. So you have to kind of invest a lot more in processes than maybe people from more organized kind of situations and environments. Second is that India as a brand is also a little chaotic. Some people know us now as an IT leader. Some people know mainly about the automobile market. But vast majority of the world still thinks of India and says Taj Mahal, elephants, tigers, that kind of stuff. So unless you're kind of selling a tourism brand or something that relies on, say, yoga or Vedic recipes, you actually have to reinvent yourself, because the moment you say you're from India, then people don't necessarily say, hey, that must be a great brand. Right? So if I say I'm from Switzerland, then people say, oh, it must be very punctual, very clean, and usually fairly expensive. When you say India, then with the exception of maybe cosmetics, people don't necessarily think very highly. So you actually have to invest in your brand and look for ways in which you can minimize the kind of impact that the country brand has on you. The third thing is that, and this is true for any country, if your primary market is outside of your home country, you will have to figure out ways in which you can integrate. So this could be through listing on the local stock exchange. So both Wipro and Infosys are listed abroad. That also helps you in terms of awareness, because then you get PR in the financial media at least. And you also have to integrate socially, as in, you have to invest in the local schools, communities, because your local employees will expect you to do that.
And what strategies did you implement to take these brands global?
Step one is to figure out what you want to do with the country brand. Second is to figure out your real assets in terms of why do people actually buy you, and not just the product, but also the soft pieces. Because most people say they buy a brand because of the quality, but actually they don't. They buy it because they like the CEO or the color of the logo, or they came to the campus and they really liked the way people met them and were nice to them. So you've got to figure out which were those ingredients that made the customer actually buy you, and then you can bottle it up and package it and market it.
And would you also say some of what you're doing is trying to sort of reinvent India Inc., given that your advice to companies is to disassociate themselves from the Indian brand?
Sometimes yes, and in my past life, yes. So for example, World Economic Forum, we used to host the Bollywood party, over I think the last 5 years now, it's become one of the popular parties at World Economic Forum, and to showcase our soft culture and so on. But I wouldn't say India's done a great job of selling itself, and certainly the soft power isn't very high. And can a single organization pull that off? No. Is there an industry body currently working actively on it? No as well. So part of the dissociation, or shall we say playing it not as your trump card, is that you don't want to emphasize an attribute that you don't actually control. And therefore it's better to play it neutral and say, hey, yeah, okay, this is our country of origin, but it's not a big part of our brand.
What sort of companies are coming to you for advice, and what are they looking for as they seek global expansion?
So most companies come looking for a marketing strategy. They usually have someone who can run it and implement it. They usually come to me saying, hey, could you help us put together an annual strategy as per our new position or new objectives? Second, could you help us identify the partner network that will help us to execute it both in India and overseas, and third, can you tell us what kind of a marketing team we should have? For many of these firms, this is the first big investment in marketing, as opposed to say sales or pre-sales or sales support. And it isn't very easy to find that kind of experience in India. Marketing itself is a relatively new field.
The CEO of Tata Communications recently commented that despite strong financial performance for his company, the consistent challenge was brand recognition internationally. What are Indian companies missing here?
I don't think we have a culture of spending large quantities of money on brand building. If I look at any US firm that has entered India, it has entered with a large splash. Okay, I mean, the first thing is, I want 100% mind share, then I will worry about market share, then I will worry about profit share, then I'll worry about wallet share, and so on. In general, with exceptions, the Indian philosophy is let me first try to break even, then I will, the local operations must fund future brand building in that particular market. And that works okay when you're doing services. It doesn't work when you're trying to do products. It's a cultural thing. We haven't really had to. And the reason for that is that at least until 1990, this was a very controlled economy. And from 1990 to now, demand is huge in India. So you don't really have to worry too much about branding. You just have to get the product out there. So most focus in India by most organizations is actually product delivery. It isn't CRM, it isn't branding. Because, I lose a customer, no problem, I'll get another one somewhere else.
What are some of the best practices you've seen or implemented for establishing Indian brands internationally?
I think financial integration is a big help. So if you're willing to list on that particular country's stock exchange, it shows your commitment to the market. It also shows that you're a clean, transparent company, which coming from an emerging market is very important to you. I think the second is to have a credible headquarters. So if you're able to show that you have a decent looking office space in, say, Manhattan, Rockefeller or something, that again, reassures people that you're there to stay. Third is to actually localize and have local employees to the extent possible. It's a challenge and you might have to pay more just to do that. So that would definitely be one. And fourth is to actually show your commitment to the social bits as well. Many companies feel that if they do a lot of good work in their home country, that's sufficient, but that doesn't help you to assimilate in the new country. So that's 4. And then of course it's all the classical stuff of building mind share, finding your partners, distribution channels and all that, and understanding that you may have to do it better than the local players because you have to prove yourself and they don't.
Jessie, thanks for joining us on INSEAD Knowledge.
Thank you very much.